Alright everybody, my name is Dr. Dan Davidson and I am the CEO of Business Star Makers, and here's a video I'm making, second video of today. And today I am going to, for the second time, I'm going to talk about a very important issue for me, and I think it would be interesting for you. And that is daring to do what you are passionate about. Facing all risks, all the ridicule, all the chances that you have to take, and everything else that may come with it. Okay, and I'm going to share my story with you, which is making myself vulnerable. But hey, I trust you, the world. Okay, so imagine you are a child. Okay, you're born in a family, your father is a doctor and he's a philanthropist. You are born in that kind of family where your grandfather is a spiritual man and he is teaching you godly ways, while your father across the yard is helping people in a little office he's built, medical office. Well, in his case was a dental office. People suffering from pain and agony, and you're born in that little home, or raised in that little home from the fourth day of your life or week of your life, and all you see are suffering, pain, agony, and people who live in this village that come to see your father and being cared for by your dad. And you're at home, your grandfather is teaching you all these spiritual things about God, spirituality, being merciful, being all these things, right? So you're getting this message, and eventually you fall in love with the concept of spirituality, medicine, helping others. Deep inside, also, you have this passion about, as you grow up, entrepreneurship, business. By the age of 4, you're exchanging your lunch with other classmates for pencils and pen and pencil erasers, whatever, just because you just love the rush of making a deal. Can you believe that? I was 4 years old. Every day I would be coming home hungry because I just love to make deals. I would then exchange my pencil that I just exchanged my lunch for with something else. I just do this all day long. My mother was just sick of it. Just like, Mom, I just love to make deals. And that was since the age of 4. Okay? So I loved medicine and I loved entrepreneurship, and continues to today. Okay? And that was a problem. Why? Because I became a surgeon and I still loved entrepreneurship. And then when I went to an MBA school and I was very successful at entrepreneurship and medicine, surgery and all that, and I had a very successful surgical practice, this fire of entrepreneurship got even bigger and took over. I could not really stop it. It was just such a passion that was innate, and it was like that eagle I just described. I had to fly and I couldn't stop it. And it took a very major daring, because here I was very successful as a surgeon, but I tried many times to be an entrepreneur, except that when you're a surgeon, guess what takes precedence? Every single time. And of course, for a good reason, your patient's safety, your patient's health, your patient's interest, every single time. So what I had to do is fold my business endeavors and go back to practicing medicine and taking care of patients. So I kept on starting businesses. As soon as they started to get better and busier and everything else, I had to fold them and go back to medicine. I wanted to have both, and I couldn't because, I was just busy practicing medicine. And got to a point where I had to choose. And mentally and emotionally, I was just so driven to becoming an entrepreneur that I sort of sabotaged myself. And I understand it now, but I didn't understand it then. And I, had issues. And all kinds of things and whatever. So the point of it is that when you make those kind of you come to that fork in your life, make those kind of decisions subconsciously is a problem. It's a whole lot better to make it consciously, but it takes a lot of courage to make it consciously, a lot of courage. And when you make those kind of decisions consciously, a lot of times it's very hard. Why? Because the people around you are not okay with it. They gotta give up a lot of things for you to make that kind of sacrifice okay. To have you start from scratch and start a business, you gotta give up a lot of luxuries. You gotta, take a lot of risks. You gotta do a lot of things, and it takes a lot of ridicule. What is this guy? He has lost his marbles. All kinds of things, Nobody does that, right? Going from surgery to business and giving up all these things. It takes an idiot to do that, really. At least in the public side, anyway. So it's a challenge, to say the least. But anyhow, so to tell that story, sort of a, and the other side of it is that nobody teaches you business in medical school, and you don't really learn a lot of business growing up while you're spending your life in medical school, libraries, surgical residency, hospital, medical practice. It doesn't become your second nature because you're not out there in the streets, growing up on the streets, basically, learning all the concepts of business. So it doesn't, like somebody who's actually an entrepreneur growing up in that environment. So by the time you're 40 something as a doctor, pretty much that stuff is foreign to you. So it's not easy. Even if you've learned it as an MBA, still you're not practiced. You may know the theories, but to practice it is a whole lot of different thing, right? So I tell you, the transition is not easy. This is actually an interesting concept because, when you dare, that means you are risking a lot. And this is important for you doctors out there. It's important for you guys, lawyers out there. It's important for you guys, accountants out there. It's important for you guys, nurses, all professionals who really want to make the transition from being, let's say, an employee to an entrepreneur, where you want to have your own practice. You want to have your own, you don't want to be an employee anymore. You want to be self-employed. You want to be on your own. You've got to make a conscious decision. You don't want to be in a position where you're like without a choice, and now you are against against the wall, and you don't have a choice. It's a whole lot harder when you have a choice and you do it planned, and you do it with previous planning, business plan, all the right systems and procedures and things in place. It's a whole different game than it is when you are sort of failure, mend, heal, find your way back up, and then rebuild, figure things out, and then grow back into wherever it is you want to go. Find your way and then get to wherever it is you want to go. And I call it the second mountain. Leave your first mountain and get to your second mountain, which is really your intended destination. So it is really important that, and if you're an entrepreneur and your plan is to achieve a certain outcome, a certain goal, you don't want to just vaguely, just say, whatever, I'm just going to keep on going, see what happens. No, well, nothing's going to happen. Let me tell you, nothing's going to happen. You're just going to keep on going around the block. You're going to go, south, and after a while you're going to end up going north, then you're going to go southeast, then you're going to go northwest. Your attorney tells you to do this, you're going to end up going, southeast. Nothing's going to happen. You're just going to go in all kinds of directions. Unless you have a specific goal in mind and all your purpose, all your specific goals, it's directed towards that. At which point you are only going to go north. And that is your North Star. You're going to just follow that direction. That's when you are going to see yourself very specifically pursuing a certain direction and nothing else. At that point, yes, you will see yourself very, very quickly progressing towards that outcome. Because of all your ambitions, all your energy, all your focus, all your effort, and even the universe is focused and is supportive of everything you're doing. And people around you are getting you and what it is you're doing, and then there's no confusion. They know that you're on your path, you are living your purpose, you're single-minded, you know what you're doing, you're following your passion, and it's very easy for them to fall in line right behind you and allow you to lead. And you have no problem waking up early. In fact, not only you don't have a problem, you have a problem not waking up early in the morning. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have a problem not waking up early in the morning, and you have a problem falling asleep at night because you're so passionate about what it is you're doing that you just don't want to stop. Okay? You're on your, track, on the right track, and you just want to keep on working towards that which you're passionate about. Okay? Your ambitions, your purpose, your desire, your drive, your motivation. It's just driving you towards that outcome, and you're single-minded. You want to go get there, and you're on the right track. So everything about you is driving you in that direction. You're not going in any other direction. It's like wanting something so bad that, and I'm sure you've experienced that before in your life at some point. Maybe you were a kid, you wanted chocolate. Nothing could stop you. You're gonna go climb, 4 floors of, cabinets to get there, but you're gonna get there. Okay, so that's just what it is. It's like you want something bad enough, you're gonna get it. You might land on your face after you get it, but you're gonna get it. So that's what it is. It's like, it's just human nature. When you want something bad enough, you're going to do everything you can to achieve your outcome. So if it is conscious and with intention and with motivation that's internal, from the gut, that drive, listen, the feeling is so incredible. The feeling is so incredible. Forget the money, forget the, 9 to 5, forget all vacation. Listen, you are on vacation. You are on vacation. You will be feeling a whole lot more pleasure than you would on any vacation. I'll promise you. You are not going to want to go on vacation because you're like, I'm feeling better than I would on any vacation. Why would I want to go away from this? I don't want to stop this pleasure. Why would I want to go away and stop? And you see people who are passionate about what they do, and people call them, oh, you're a workaholic. No, they're not workaholic. They're just driven by dopamine. It's like drugs, right? Dopamine, right? They're not workaholic. They're just on track. And they're getting so much dopamine from what they're doing. What do they need to go to, any kind of vacation to get any kind of pleasure when they're getting it from what it is they're doing? Right? They're high. So, and you cannot help it but to succeed when you are doing what you are called to do. You are going to get good at it. Why? Because you're just going to keep doing it. You're just going to make sure you get good at it because you're in love with what it is you're doing, and you just got to keep doing it, and you cannot bear to do it badly. You get offended if your work isn't good. It's like, I'm offended. I love this thing. How can I do bad work at what I love? It's like you're personally attached to your outcome, to your work. It's personal, So, yeah, it's really, really important to you. It's not, oh, well, let me clock in, let me clock out, get my paycheck. It's not a paycheck. This is not a paycheck. So, certainly makes a very big difference between a paycheck and passion. So, it's not a job. In terms of leaving your job to pursue your passion, I can't tell you enough. Because, way back when, 1996 was the last time that I was truly employed with a contract, right after my residency, from surgical residency. And I had a great contract. And I'm not employable, let me tell you. I had a 1-year contract, and I had a great partner, senior partner. He was a gynecologist, obstetric gynecologist, and was the nicest man in the world. Every day that I went to work, it was like torture. Because I just, the kind of medicine and the type of practice, and I was not even a doctor, I was a provider. On the office door, it was like provider's office. And it wasn't a doctor's office, it was a provider's office. And it was an HMO practice, and all about paperwork, and you would see a patient, they expected, it was all about the speed by which you saw a patient. You were expected to do it fast, and then you'd have to do a whole lot more paperwork than you even spent face-to-face seeing the patient. It was not really about the patient, it was more about the paperwork. Go figure. And preparing the documentation, or else you would lose your contract. So losing the contract just meant that they would shut you down. That's the contract was basically what kept the door open. So it was just horrible. So 10 months into this contract, which was pretty lucrative, I had to go back to my partner and I say, hey, can you let me out of this contract? I just can't bear to continue this kind of work. It's just not me. And here's what it was. I was making good money, and it was like an hour and a half drive there, an hour and a half drive back, during which I was listening to Tony Robbins each way back and forth. Before that, I was always listening to Tony, and I was reading his books, and everybody else, and Nightingale, and whoever. I've always been into 40-some years, into personal development, so nothing new. But, and I had a practice I was developing called Transformation Institute, which is still going, and, all those kind of things. I was into personal development. I created a medical field called enteropathic medicine, which I'm writing about, psycho-spiritual medicine, which I'm writing about. I'm doing research and a whole lot of things. But that practice just was a torture, the medical type of a practice that was all about paperwork and not about patient care. To me, that was not medical practice, that was paper practice. So I couldn't do it, and I had to basically resign. But what that meant, resigning, no money coming in. It took daring. I had to dare to do that. And for several months, I had no money coming in. And eventually, got a job after like 3 months of no income, struggling. I got a job basically, it didn't pay all the bills, but anyway, eventually I bought a practice of a doctor that had passed away, and the practice was in probate. I don't know if you guys know about probate. When someone passes away without a will, it goes into probate, and probate means that the government is involved, and the attorneys are involved, and all that stuff has to be, hashed out, and then the taxes and families and shares and mess. And then they wanted to sell the practice, and I basically wanted to buy the practice, and I needed to take out a loan, and by the time it all sort of ended, like, most patients had already found doctors. So, but he was an amazing doc. He was amazing doctor, and he had built an amazing practice for himself. But by the time I ended up taking over, a lot of his quality patients had already found a physician for themselves, and so pretty much I basically took over about 10% of the existing practice and had to build it back up again. But nevertheless, I mean, again, talking about daring, to do what it is you intend to do. And what I intended to do was to be self-employed. And so I got there, became self-employed. And of course, wasn't an easy thing, and I had to get myself privileges in all the local hospitals and build my practice again, like I said, from scratch, and win patients over one by one from all these admissions from the emergency room, and build an income, and then decided to continue my specialization, and I did. And 6 years later, that it was what I had grown up to do, to serve people. Somehow I was doing general family practice, so vaccination of children and taking care of the adults and all the general practice that you can imagine. Nothing unusual. And it would have been what it was, a general practice, but it wasn't my type of practice, and it didn't resonate with me. I wasn't being honest with myself. I was just doing that for the rest of my life, and I knew that I would be miserable. And that deathbed inventory that I have been teaching, I would be looking back, and I would have basically been completely disappointed in myself, feeling that I have sold myself short, and I was a chicken, but I was meant to be an eagle that never flew. Well, I have been an eagle since, and I have been shut down, broken bones, bleeding, under the ground, crawled out, everything you can imagine. I've had scars to show for it, and non-stop learning, committed to learning, teaching what I've learned, shared my experiences with others, and I will continue to. And lived with passion, will continue to do so, and stay true to myself, and I will continue to be. Made a whole lot of mistakes, as entrepreneurs will make, human beings will make. Made sure I learn from my own mistakes, and I will always make sure I do. Don't want to make the same ones twice. I may, but I would definitely try not to. It's not wise to make the same mistakes twice. It's okay to make new ones if you have to, better not. And have a clear goal. And a goal is an intent, clear written intent with a deadline. Okay, that's a goal. Clear written intent with a deadline, and step by step strategy as to how to achieve that goal. Okay, if you don't have those, then you don't have a goal. It's just a wish. So that's not a goal, that's just a wish. I wish. That's just not a goal. But a goal is a clear-cut outcome with a deadline and a step-by-step strategy to achieve it. So you gotta have those, okay? You gotta have short-term, medium, long-term goals, and that's for any of your, sub-segments of your life. So, and it's okay to be working on it. So we all get to be working on these things in our lives, and working on mine. Okay, so constant and never-ending improvement, constant and never-ending learning, and in my case, constant never-ending sharing.